Hi, I'm Dr. Jim Brancato from Cedar Crest College. This is Dr. John Sullivan from Muhlenberg College, and this is Liz Ortiz from Cedar Crest College. And together we're working on a media literacy collaboration based on a number of courses that we teach together. We were going to call it Crestberg, but we decided it sounded like a new form of lettuce. So we began with a few targeted courses that both departments teach. For example, media industries, a course which looks into what the structure of media industries are in terms of their politics, the economy, what determines media content because of that. Media literacy, a course that Professor Ortiz teaches at Cedar Crest and is also offered through the Media and Society class at Muhlenberg. And this course really focuses on training students to be more critical consumers of media. The notion that we all live in a media-saturated environment, and it's kind of like we have to learn to be fish that can look at the water critically. It's a very difficult thing to do, but it's very, very important for a number of reasons, obviously. The overall goal of these courses actually share is the political economy of media industries, how it shapes content, how our social values and ideologies form through media consumption, and also the social structures that are affected by the media. And what's interesting about this is, in terms of doing this project, is that the departments actually existed together back in the 1980s. I don't know if anybody remembers the 1980s, but anyway, we came from the same kind of fundamental commitment as to why we teach communication, which is not just to train media professionals, but to train average students who are interested in the media and who use it obviously all the time, even though very little on email apparently. I asked Liz after looking at the statistics, like how does book reading compare to some of those other things? And it's probably just below email maybe, or between email and we want students to have that, to become active citizens in a media culture. So we have these collective goals that actually have been existing since the 1980s, and it's nice to work together to resume that mission. And some of these collective goals are, briefly, building students as critical media consumers and producers, understanding media structures and power as a fundamental platform from which you can do media literacy, understand ideological messages in the media, macro and micro sociological pressures on media practitioners, and then finally, again, to really create active citizens in the 21st century. I think it's very important. We all believe that we must develop an awareness of the centrality of media, right, and how it shapes our experience. So to tell you more about how we're going to do this collaborative work, Liz?
Thanks. So, I'm fortunate to follow Jennifer and Scott, who pretty much summed up my 3 slides really beautifully, and so I'll just elaborate a little bit on those. So, we pictured potentially a Tuesday and Thursday course format, like many of our courses run at Cedarburg. Yeah. We might have to dump that, you're right, at Cedarburg. And so Tuesdays, perhaps collaboration on campus, mini lectures, an opportunity for our students to engage in debate, discussion, dialogue, to get together. So we pictured this course perhaps as something that's cross-registered. Our campuses are so very close. I just looked on my map, and if a student were to walk from the edge of Muhlenberg to Cedar Crest, it's about 0.6 miles. So it's about 4 minutes by car. It takes a little while to find parking. It's probably faster to walk. It takes about 18 minutes on an average day. We're so close, and yet we feel so far removed. And I think this could really bring us together for some really wonderful work that was happening in the 80s. There's some separation, and we're bringing it back together now. So you'll see here the model of the flipped classroom that comes from, of course, the University of Texas at Austin. Thursdays, we pictured an online collaboration, and this would be a chance to, of course, check understanding, like Jennifer talked about in her speech, but it would also be something that is not just instructor-led, so not getting stuck in that bottleneck, but students are leading this conversation as well. So they're taking the conversation from the classroom on Tuesday, bringing it online on Thursday, and of course other times during the week, but really having this focused time where our students could work together. They wouldn't necessarily have to commute 2 or 3 times a week, because I think that does get challenging our schedules as colleges do vary greatly, and something like a 5-minute gap between courses is not enough to get from one place to another. So we pictured this online space as the ideal space for collaboration. The classroom management system, obviously, lots of choices. We just switched to a new LMS at Cedar Crest, which is not featured here. We're still working through a lot of that. I know that Muhlenberg is using Moodle and Blackboard. So we have to figure out, where we exist and where that happens. And I know a lot of that will be talked about later today as we talk with the educational technology people and we figure out exactly where we are in that. But ideally, perhaps some type of open source software that we would collaborate on together and be able to use from both of our spaces. Of course, virtual class meetings and office hours would be ideal, and there's the opportunity perhaps through Adobe Connect or through Blackboard Collaborate to do different things such as audio, video, telephone conferencing. We can do video recording, chat windows, kind of all of these ideas that take not just a course being online, like the idea of just having quizzes and having a mini lecture online, but really allowing students to engage with each other, with the materials, right? Not just with each other, but also with the materials and then with the instructors as well. So again, I think for today, we'll answer a lot of questions for us on what this might look like, and as Scott's group and Laura's group see how we might work together and how we might make our campuses be able to talk to each other a little more smoothly online, that will answer a good amount of our questions. But the main portion, which I'm going to pass it over to John, is to talk about the collaboration that's going to happen on our campuses.
Okay, thanks very much, Liz. One of the things that we had talked about in our group and we're beginning to stress in our conversation is the ability from our students from both campuses to collaborate on projects. So one of the great things about teaching courses about media is not only that it's all around us and that students use it all the time, but that you could actually use the same tools that you are critically evaluating to create new forms of media that achieve the kinds of goals. So it's a nice way to combine the theoretical aspects of what you're trying to understand about the structure of the media, ideology, and systems of power, and yet then turn those systems back on themselves by creating forms of media that critique said forms of power, and to be able to understand in so doing how you can become much more active and critical, not just consumer, but also producer of media. So that's one of the neat things about teaching in this field. So we imagined in our initial discussions with one another that we could do a number of collaborative project assignments, such that during one semester when Jim and I teach our media industries course, that it could be either a cross-listed or even a single course that is taught on both campuses, and that we can have joint classroom experiences that exist online as opposed to being in a specific space. So that could take the form of, for example, shared coursework, where students work on research projects and then begin to collaborate on those projects. We envisioned, the two of us, initially discussions with media practitioners and people working in the field, where we would get access to them in their own spaces, and students would go online and be able to post questions. Joint research projects, for example, in Liz's class, where they might do a project about a critical analysis of media images, let's say advertising images, and then we would pull some of those advertising images online, allow students to annotate those images, make comments about those images, and then develop those comments and annotations into a longer form presentation or even a paper. And that works really nicely with our Media and Society course, which is an introductory course to our major, where we ask students to begin developing competencies in media literacy from a very basic level, even up to some more complicated concepts. We got really excited about some of these tools, and so we even started talking about online transmedia projects like a web-based magazine, or even role-playing experiences where, for example, in the media industries course, students might take on the role of an independent record company and begin to even develop a business plan or model, and then begin to talk about the industry itself, what kinds of barriers they may face, talk with artists and other students who could maybe role play as different kind of actors in this scheme and be able to kind of develop a whole environment around this. So we're kind of playing around with all these ideas. Some of them may be more realizable than others, but this is kind of where we're going. We're excited to talk with other faculty members here about it. We kind of focused on a few of the tools we might use. So I really like Evernote because it does some of the same things. It allows annotation. It allows finding articles to store them and for students to be able to collaborate with them. And it has a quite nice mobile platform, which is already rolled out. And I think that seems to be a key here, that students are a lot of times on their mobile devices. And this would be a nice way to connect them with them on that level. It also has real-time collaboration and web conferencing as well built in. So it may go pretty far to reaching some of the needs that might exist with other much more expensive software packages. And then for those projects that come at the end of the semester, or the culminating projects in some of these courses, we've kind of been looking into some online sources. One is a website called Squarespace. It costs money, but it makes websites and other web environments and annotation tools very easy to use. Another that my colleague Laura just told me about recently within the last week is a new free open source product coming out of, I believe USC, called Scalar, that is used for, it's a kind of collective, collaborative authoring and publishing platform. Some of it could look like a blog, others parts of it could look more like annotating, like a photography type of environment. But these are looking kind of like exciting tools that we might explore, and they may meet some of our needs. That's about it. Thank you.